All right. So, hello everyone. I'm Kirsten, if you're new, and I'm here with Jess Spinner from The Whole Dancer. We're going to be having a conversation today on how dancers stay thin. We'll address that word. I know it's a bit of a buzzword, but we're going to have a really interesting conversation, hopefully, on healthy versus unhealthy approaches and also touching on some realities in the dance world. But in case you haven't seen Jess before on her channel or her blog, thewholedancer.com, I'd like to give her the the opportunity, if you want to or not. You can take it.
Maybe not.
Introduce yourself for whoever's new.
Sure. Hey, everyone. Thrilled to connect with everyone here on Kirsten's channel. Such a vibrant dance community that you've cultivated here. I absolutely love it. My name is Jess, as Kirsten said, from The Whole Dancer. I am a health coach for aspiring through professional dancers. And my background is in professional dance and then obviously health and health coaching. So I danced professionally for a while, and then my injuries, as well as sort of like a destructive mindset around my body and my dancing, is really what ended things for me. So now my mission through The Whole Dancer is really to support dancers in creating healthy mindsets around your bodies, around your dancing, in order to support long careers. Because obviously, well, the dance career is short enough. We don't want to make it even shorter by not giving ourselves the things and the support that we need. So that's what I do.
I love that. I love that because it's really, you're providing the support that isn't kind of inherently built into our system that desperately needs it. Many of us just accept like, oh, this is short. Oh, we'll get injured. Oh, we just do what it takes and our bodies can suffer the way they will. They'll heal when we're done. But I love how you're bringing in your holistic approach and also some preventative care, education-based empowerment. I love that. So let's go ahead and get started by addressing why we added the word thin into the title. And we talked about this before. Yeah, we kind of, for the audience, we went back and forth about, should we say, how do dancers stay thin, or should we choose another word? We don't want it to be triggering for people, but we think that it is important to kind of just bring this topic to the surface, because ultimately, I mean, a lot of us, if we haven't done it ourselves, we know people who are looking for advice to, that quick fix to be thin. They think it'll make them better, more appealing, make them happier. And we believe in talking about this stuff and defining it and reframing the way we look at our bodies and also our ideal image so that we can actually build one with a very healthy mindset.
Yeah, I think what happens a lot for dancers is we have all these idols and we see other professional dancers, or if we're not yet dancing professionally, we watch professional dancers and we think, oh, she's just so perfect and beautiful and thin, and just being skinnier or just being thinner is what I should be trying to do. And I think a lot of times we go for that end and we don't necessarily think about how important the path to getting to your personal best body and your healthiest body is. And I think too often we just think about the thin outcome and don't think about the fact that we need to be strong and we need to be fit and healthy in order to support our dancing and our goals.
Right, exactly. So out of your experience, Jess, in the professional dance world, what kind of approaches did you come across personally?
Well, my own personal approach was not super healthy. It was very up and down with food, and, food was the enemy. And you really can't have a healthy relationship with food or with your body if you see food as the enemy, and, you feel like you're fighting with yourself the whole time. And it was funny because, well, not funny, but it was interesting that, I tended to gravitate towards friends who were in a similar place with food in their bodies. Not anything you would ever see outwardly. Like, you couldn't tell by just looking at them, oh, she's struggling with food and her body image. But I oftentimes was making friends and connecting with other dancers who were in a similar struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would sometimes feed into each other's bad habits. And we would have conversations where we would say to each other, well, I think like the only way I'm going to get there is if I just stop eating so much and like eat less, or like only eat these 5 foods. And we didn't look for outside information or support and find ways to actually go about changing our bodies in a healthy way, or getting to a place of like self-acceptance. Because it's amazing now to look back and think, wow, I like really never had a problem as far as how I looked. It was mostly in my head.
Yeah, and what I've been learning is that despite, well, a lot of people aren't aware of how their inner world and their thoughts and the things they actually believe about themselves, and especially about their image, it projects louder than any actions, any words, like just your beliefs about yourself. I can literally see it in someone's eyes. And as a
Mm-hmm.
performer, it can really get you kind of looked over. When somebody has this passion and this confidence, especially in professional dance, a lot of directors, they're just looking for confidence because
So true.
this trust, especially if you're an employee and ballet is a business, they're looking for trust and confidence, someone they can rely on, who is going to deliver and who's great to work with. And even if your dancing is awesome, if you are so stuck on, I'm not thin enough, even that one aspect of dissatisfaction in yourself can really um, mess with the way others perceive you, and it can mess with the way you show up in a space and the way you present yourself energetically.
Oh, completely. I've
Huge.
been talking a lot lately with a friend where we've been talking about like the energy that you give off.
Mhm.
And, obviously they're not going to look at you and be able to pick out what your personal struggle or issue is, but they'll feel something from you. And like you said, like confidence is something that it can't be taught. It has to be authentically felt. And if you are trying to act confident, but you're not really there, like people can see that. And from a professional dancing perspective, like, yes, you really need to try to work on the real thing, having the real thing, because, like artistic directors are going to see it.
Yeah. That book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People,
Great
almost
one.
everybody in personal development has heard
Yeah.
about it. I love how Stephen Covey, the author, says the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
it can apply to almost anything, but I love how that applies to being a dancer, whether you are an aspiring professional or a professional or someone who is struggling with body image stuff and you're still just doing this for fun. The main thing is that you enjoy your craft and you appreciate what you can do.
Mm.
And you're looking for the growth opportunities, but not fixating on the little things that you really believe are your demise. That's just not helpful. It really isn't. And confidence isn't, like, it's so easy to talk about the importance of having confidence, but very few people talk about how confidence is cultivated. Um, and confidence really comes from setting up a little intention or an action or something like, oh, I want to do this, and then following through on it. And your brain gets that positive feedback loop of, oh, yeah, I did that. Cool, confidence.
Mm-hmm.
It builds on itself. And so if you're always setting up this feedback loop of, I'm only as good as I think I look in the mirror, keyword, I think I look in the mirror, because a lot
Right.
of us see ourselves as like 5 pounds heavier than we actually are.
At least.
At least.
Yeah.
So if you're always building that and saying, well, I'm only as good as I feel thin, you're never going to measure up, and it's actually going to snowball backwards if that's
Mm-hmm.
an appropriate analogy, where you just constantly have this feeling like it's just never enough. You're going to keep
Yeah.
putting out one thing after another, restricting the calories, always finding a way to almost disappear. And so dancers can achieve thinness that they're happy with for a moment, but that's not a sustainable result. Like, it's going to fall in on you one moment or one way or another, mentally,
Yeah.
probably physically, for sure.
So yeah, I actually just wrote a piece for Point about preparing and like getting your body ready for audition season and reaching your body goals before audition season, which, you know, is happening now in like 3 or 4 months. So to start now is the just absolute perfect time. But one of the things I mentioned is how you don't want to get to audition season having crash dieted to get to some level of thin or skinny that you think is going to look good to artistic directors, and have it be something that you absolutely cannot sustain. Because say they give you a job based on whatever, it would really be based on your dancing. It wouldn't be based on your thinness, but you're probably going to attribute it to that at this point, right? If they give you the job and then you show up in the fall to start the season and you don't look the way you did in the audition, that can count against you.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why it's so important to go around or go about this in a healthy way, and a way that is sustainable, and a way where you actually are giving your body the time to adjust healthfully to some changes, some healthy changes, so that you can keep it going when you are in that professional dance job, and it doesn't become something that just really fluctuates all over the place, because that artistic staff can notice. And, you know, even if they are not holding it as something against you, it's something that they might be concerned with, your health, and just like how you're actually taking care of yourself. Yeah. So we want to be healthy, and also be healthy to the level that it's projected to the artistic staff and the people around us, and just mostly for yourself. But keep in mind, it has that impact as well.
Definitely. One of my favorite reframes of kind of like how to reorder one's goal-oriented mind. A lot of dancers are very goal-oriented. And so instead of making your pursuit of fitness all about the way you look, it can be really interesting to actually go at it from, maybe start with this fascination of health. Like, how can I be optimal? And I can link it in the description, this website called chronometer.com. And you could log your food for a couple of days and your supplements and everything. And you can actually see how you're doing on your nutritional profile with your macro and micronutrients. And not only is that insanely beneficial for a dancer who is making lots of demands on his or her body, it's also really interesting to frame this from an actual like health-oriented perspective, not just, oh, I feel good, I look good. It's like, no, how are you actually meeting your physiological needs?
Right.
So I notice some dancers, some like to kind of snack all day, and that's not inherently bad. Like, everybody kind of has a different approach to, do we eat 3 times a day, 4 times a day, snack throughout the day? It's less of a commentary on that, and more that I see people are just eating like pretzels or just easy, very quickly digestible foods that aren't whole foods or very healthy. And so it could be a really interesting challenge for a dancer to log their food, or maybe just start to be very aware of how each little food they eat kind of makes them feel, the timing of the day, see how they're stacking up with their nutritional balances, and make it more about that and this feeling of like wellness, and not such like outward measures of success.
Absolutely. For dancers, that's huge. I think, you know, most body goals need to be reframed, because it is usually just about some external, I want to look like this, I want to weigh this number. And when we're able to look at it from absolutely a nutritional standpoint and say, okay, what's actually going to be nutritionally beneficial to me? And then also how you perform with these changes, and like taking some time to experiment with different ways of eating and seeing what actually serves you personally the best, because it's so different for every single person. We can't all follow the same eating plan and think we're all going to have the same levels of energy. we all know those people who eat like tons of sugar. I mean, like they probably claim they have great energy, but I'm sure they're going through lots of ups and downs and crashes. So
Yes, and the
there's
girl that like always gets sick, and she's like,
that.
I ate something really healthy today. I had a smoothie with like orange juice in it, and yeah, it
Right.
came from fruit, but girl, that's some sugar. Or just like protein bars that have 36 ingredients and a ton of sugar.
Right.
So yeah, I've noticed that a lot of dancers inherently do not trust their body to look the way they want it to look if they properly.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's this belief that if I give it what it wants, which is to eat enough or to eat healthy whole foods or enough fats or something like that, then it's not going to look the way I want it to look. So I kind of have to like leash it in, or like what's the
Rein it in.
metaphor I'm looking for?
Is that
Yeah,
what you're going for?
like control it. I have to control
Yes.
it. I have to kind of beat my body into submission.
Mm-hmm.
I must live in deprivation to be doing this right.
Right.
You know? And I think people can really trust themselves and be open to, yeah, maybe you're not going to look exactly the way you want to look when you start eating enough healthy food, but that's maybe you haven't given your body the chance to actually build muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think just really finding your healthy state where you're functioning and preventing injuries because you're not in like vitamin deficiencies and things like that. That is so crucial, having this basis of trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's something that, you know, just like learning about nutrition is valuable, it's something you have to kind of learn, is to trust yourself and your body, that, you know, it's not gonna, I always had a big fear of, if I would stop dancing, I would like gain 1,000,000 pounds.
Yes.
And then I actually stopped for like a year. And while I surely lost muscle, I didn't actually gain any weight, which was sort of a personal experiment that I had to go through to get to a point where I could be like, oh, wow, like my body's not just going to go completely crazy if I'm not dancing 24/7.
Right.
It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I so agree. One of the last points I'll make is how I think a lot of us have witnessed that one girl who is really thin and she doesn't care about what she eats. She's not weird about it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, yeah, there are really thin girls naturally that just eat whatever they want and it's not healthy food. And that is just attributed to their genetics. But I think there really is something to say about that trust that young woman must have in herself to actually say like, no, I'm not hungry right now, I'm not going to eat, or yeah, I think it's time to eat, or just going with that intuitive eating cycle that people kind of naturally do whenever they're not overly controlling and overly thinking about their food intake. And usually, yeah, those people are really fit.
Yeah.
They do look really good. Look,
Yeah.
they trust themselves, and I think their mindset of not punishing themselves and not having this distrust of their body, it kind of manifests itself in this balance of their physical state.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people who, when it's a family thing and, you know, like everyone in the family is thin and we can say it's genetic, a lot of times in those families, there's also this relationship with food and the way that you approach it that is very balanced and healthy, and sort of everyone has kind of learned that in the family. And, you know, so then people are, like you said, they are not overeating all the time. They're not totally ignoring their body's cues. Like those are the people who will get a huge ice cream and then like take 3 bites and be like, oh, wow, I'm like stuffed. I can't finish this. And, you know, there are other people who it's ice cream, so I'm going to eat it all no matter what.
Yeah, I deprived myself all week, so it's time to
Right.
eat this.
It's time to eat this huge ice cream.
If anyone else isn't going to finish their ice cream.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the body, I like to think of it as like a bank account. You can keep making withdrawals, but eventually you're going to be in debt. No?
Yes.
The same goes for
Yes.
injuries. I love that analogy for injuries and health.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, oh, I didn't like the way I look today, and then you skip breakfast or you eat a tiny meal after that, it's going to catch up with you in
Yeah.
hunger, irritability, fatigue, and injury.
Hmm.
Always catches up. You can't just constantly neglect yourself.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
you want to talk about this
Yeah.
you've created? Because I think
Yeah.
it's an awesome thing.
So this month, the Dancer's Best Body program will be enrolling again. I created this program a couple of years ago, and it has, evolved and grown, and over 100 dancers have gone through it at this point from, all different companies and high-level companies and schools around the country and around the world, which is really exciting. But it is about this process of reaching your personal best dancer's body. And I say it that way, obviously, because we can't set those body goals, as we said, around how someone else looks or wanting to be that person or wanting to look like that person. So it's about what your body can do when you are trusting it and you are finding those foods and that eating style that really does work best for you. So the program really takes you through the process of figuring that out. And it also works through any relationship with food issues that might be pre-existing. So if you do feel like you are an emotional eater or you just don't feel I don't even like the word control around food, but you just don't feel balanced with food, it works through those things as well. And this round is going to be I'm particularly excited about it because it's going to be more interactive, and there will be like additional calls with the whole group. Those are optional, of course. If you prefer to remain anonymous throughout the program, you can do that. But then, of course, there are opportunities to work more closely with me as well, depending on if you have a deadline, if you feel like I want to be at my best by audition season, and so you really want to see things start to progress. If we work one-on-one, we can definitely move a little bit more quickly towards those goals. But really, it's about supporting you in reaching body goals, as Chris and I have talked about, healthfully, because that's what's going to keep you from getting injured. That's what's going to allow you to get to your personal best without excessive stress, without feeling totally overwhelmed by the process. And it will hopefully get you away from any ideas about quick fixes or, the next new fad diet, or feeling like, oh, like my friend just lost a bunch of weight being on the ketogenic diet, maybe that's what I should do, or she's vegan, so I think I should be vegan. It allows you to just like focus on yourself and cuts out the noise so that you actually can see those changes that you desire.
Yeah, I love the merging of the mind and body approach.
Mm,
It's seriously, I believe, the only way to authentic, sustainable success. Because you
definitely.
start to make health a part of not just your top priorities, but a part of your identity and your way of life. That's when you're able to make changes and set goals and see them happen. If you actually approach from desire to be
Mm-hmm.
healthy, to create a sustainable solution, to honor yourself, instead of wanting to run away from something, you're running towards something wonderful. That's
Yes.
when you create sustainable success. So I
Yeah.
love that you take your coaching and your experience, your story is now the parts that were kind of hard for you. It's now your superpower and you're helping
Yeah.
people. That's just so amazing. That's why I've continued to want to share this program with
Yeah.
people. I believe in it. I think it's wonderful.
Right. And with it, like you said, you get lifetime access to the program when you sign up. So I have many dancers have started at the beginning 2 years ago. They signed up and they go through it periodically. Maybe it's when I have, a live round going on. So there's additional components for them to participate in, but they go through it consistently because I do think it helps them stay in tune with a lifestyle of wellness versus, okay, I'm going to do this program for 8 weeks and then I'll just probably go back to what I was doing before. So it really does help to sustain results, knowing that they have the program always as a touch point. And as it gets improved upon and as new resources get added, like this round, there will be a brand new cross-training piece. So like every time new things are added, they can come back and like check out what's new. And I think it's a good way to stay excited about keeping yourself healthy.
Yeah, that's so wonderful because it's reasonable to expect that you're going to have ebbs and flows in your journey. And I know in my journey, I've had like a year plus of just really a great relationship with my body, and my
Mm-hmm.
eating was good, normal. Things were fine. And then I had some life changes happen and I thought I solved all my problems. But then old tendencies started to creep back in.
Right.
That's reasonable to kind of expect that to happen for anybody. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
how amazing you are with your awareness. So I love that you do that for the dance.
Right. Sometimes with like you brought up a great point, because like sometimes they're doing great, and then even like, oh, they get to audition season and then things get stressful again. Or
Yeah.
for younger dancers, I've had them get to summer intensives and then they stress themselves out again because they're feeling like pressure to perform up to a new standard. Or starting with a new company, you feel like a renewed pressure to look and be and do certain things certain ways.
Right.
So I do think, again, it does just provide some consistency and something you can come back to. And, I have dancers from 2 years ago who still email me, or who, 2 years later say, oh, I think I need to work one-on-one with you because these new things have come up and I thought I was doing great and then new stuff came up. So I think there's beauty in the journey and knowing that it's a consistent and beautiful process that you can go through and feel supported on, like not alone, hiding out. Like that's how I felt with food stuff. I really felt like I was, alone, and I would talk about it with those couple of friends who I knew had similar situations or similar mindsets, but mostly it was like a solitary, abusive, depressive
Yeah.
state. And so I just really don't want dancers to feel that way. So that's what the program is about, is really providing that community and one-on-one support and resources and information so that you're really not alone in this.
Yeah. And as a little testimony, I actually had a close friend who I didn't know signed up for the program without either of us knowing that I was
Yeah.
promoting it and she was doing it. So it came up in conversation, and I found out pretty shortly after she started the program. And I could see how it not just helped her, it not only helped her in her journey with food, but she was going through a serious injury where she was totally out from dancing. And she was telling me how it even transcended into her acceptance of her injury.
Mm-hmm.
And she learned and grew so much from that injury, where most people I know, like that was a hard thing she went through. She was in a boot.
Yeah.
Most people I know would crumble with that, and she just used it as such leverage for her success right after she got back into dancing. So I loved getting to see that this not only helped her be really healthy with the way she ate and the way she thought about her body, but it helped her through a time where she wasn't able to dance at all.
That's
So I
awesome.
loved seeing that. It's a
Yeah.
really good testament to what you're doing.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love, each new enrollment, getting to know the new dancers who come in. It's really, a pleasure and a joy and an honor for me to be a part of so many dancers' journeys.
Yeah. So with that, I think we'll have all the information in the description box,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a link to your website where
Yeah.
anyone who's interested can definitely learn more about the program. Would you tell us your release date if you have that yet? Or
Yeah. So it'll start enrolling September 13th. And then enrollment closes the 25th. And then everyone will start this round together on the 26th. So yeah, you've got like a over a week. You've got like a week and a half to decide if you think that it's right for you. And if you have any questions, definitely just email me, jess@thewholedancer.com. And I'm all over email during enrollment because there's a lot of questions coming in. So I'm all over it. And I'll get back to you quickly so you can decide if you think you're a good fit. And I'll tell you up front as well, like, I don't want people to sign up for this program if I don't think it's actually going to help them.
Yeah.
So, if you're not sure, if you think it's the best route for you to go, just reach out to me and I'll let you know what I think for sure.
Yes, authenticity and honesty. That's how
Yes.
you know to trust you. Yeah. Well, thank you so
For
much,
sure.
Jess.
Thank you, Kirsten. This was so fun.
Yeah, I'm really glad we got to do this. So everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please do get in touch with Jess if you have any questions. Check out all the resources and the information. And I highly encourage you to consider enrolling in the Dancer's Best Body program. Even if you don't think you have like dramatic food struggles, if you just have a desire to get more in touch with your body in a healthy way and like just make that a part of your lifestyle, I would not discourage you from just doing this and investing in yourself. It's truly a worthwhile investment. Actually, Jess and I have joked about this before, how a lot of us will drop $100+ for a Yumiko, but not treat ourselves, like the being that's wearing that Yumiko, as worth half as much.
Yeah.
So I always encourage people to just invest in themselves and make that statement of, I'm worth this. And
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see where everyone's going to go with it.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll end there. Thank you so much, Jess. I really
Thank you.
talk, and thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.